Good morning, everybody. Coming to you from Sunday morning here at First Presbyterian Church in Cornelia. Want to welcome everybody and thank you for tuning in this morning. We are on our second week of no meeting together at church to try to kind of flatten the curve of the coronavirus. So I hope you all are well. I hope your parents and grandparents are well, and I hope you've been following my advice and washing your hands and kind of trying to stay away from other people. But I really hope you've been enjoying this great weather that we're having this week and the last few days. It has been amazing. I can't imagine what it would have been like if we hadn't had these few days of sunshine. So I hope you're really enjoying that. Has anybody felt kind of stressed out this week? Me, I have too. I wonder if your parents are watching, if they felt stressed this week. Yeah, I bet so. What about you kids in middle school? Some of you middle schoolers that come up here to hear the children's message each week. Have y'all felt a little stressed figuring out how to learn from home? Yeah, I bet so. My kids at home have felt a little stressed out as well. And I'll tell you, I bet, your teachers have felt stressed. I'm a teacher and it's hard to all of a sudden shift gears and come up with all new lessons, potentially for weeks and weeks on end. So everybody's kind of been a little stressed out this week, and I want us to really think about giving each other grace, giving each other some room for error. It's okay because we're all kind of in uncharted waters. We've never really done this before. So, if your teacher doesn't get back to you right away, or maybe a lesson that's supposed to work online doesn't work just as she had wanted it to, or he had wanted it to, maybe extend them a little grace. If your parents seem a little short-fused, maybe extend them a little grace. They're probably doing their work from home and trying to help you out too. And as parents, we need to extend a little grace to you guys because we know this is a stressful time for you too. And so I want to think about that word stress. And think about what that means. So if you will, pause the video for just a second and talk with your parents or your siblings, whoever's around you, about what the word stress means to you. Okay, well, I hope that you got to discuss that a little bit. And I think maybe you might have talked about feeling anxious or maybe even worried. Or feeling like you can't get everything done. That's kind of a stress inducer, to kind of feel like everything is kind of crowding in around you maybe, or that you're not really in control of a situation. That can be stressful. But today's word that we're going to talk about has stress in it. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, stress first. But the word is distress. And I want us to look at the word distress and how people might look in distress. Have you ever heard of the word distress? Yeah, it has the word stress in it. You see this? But it's different from the word stress. So I want you to take another minute and see if you can kind of figure out what you think the word distress means. So pause the video for a second and discuss. Okay, so I'm not sure what you talked about, but I want to think about maybe what distress looks like before we talk about exactly what it is. So let's take a look at what maybe distress might look like. And you tell me yes or no. Does this look like, I'm going to move myself down here now. Does this look like distress? Does this lady look like she's in distress? Yeah, she does. She looks really like she's worried. There's something really bothering her. You can tell there's some emotional stuff going on there. That can be a person in distress. Absolutely. What about these people? Yeah, right. They are not in distress, or they do not appear to be in distress. They are happy and laughing and eating ice cream. Maybe they're on vacation or something like that. So they're not in distress. That does not look like distress. What about this? These people, the looks on their faces. This little boy here. Does that look like distress to you? Yeah, absolutely. Maybe this little boy is hurting or has had something happen or he's being moved. We don't really know, but definitely this looks like distress, right? Maybe a person in need. Maybe that's how we can classify distress. All right, let's look here. Does this woman look like she's in distress? Yeah, I mean, she looks to be crying. She looks very sad, and she looks like she needs help or a hug or someone to reach out to her. What about these people? Do they look in distress? No. They're happy, smiling, clapping, playing. That does not look like distress, right? What about these women? Yeah, they look sad. They're crying. One is comforting the other, right? What about these children? Do they look like they're in distress? No, right. They're smiling, happy, the sun is out. They probably have been playing in the park or something like that, and that does not look like distress. And what about these children? These boys and girls? Right. That is what distress looks like. It looks like maybe this person is begging, possibly for food. So they're in distress, maybe over being hungry. This huge crowd looks like it wants the same thing. It looks like this person is hurting physically, maybe emotionally hurting. And so definitely this looks like distress. I want you to see one more. Does that look like distress? Yeah. And I know you all know who this is, right? This is Jesus dying on the cross. And he's in distress. He is been beaten. He's been mocked. He has been nailed to a cross. And he spent many hours dying. Certainly not a quick or painless death. And so our passage today, and remember we've been talking about Jesus on the cross and the 7 last words of Jesus. And today, Jesus says, I thirst. And he's in distress. His body is shutting down and he's dying. And when he hollers out or he says, I thirst, we really see a glimpse of him being human. You know, we think of Jesus as God's son and the one who was sent to save us, our Savior. And we don't always think of Jesus as being really human because he did so many things that were not of this world, right? And so this idea of being thirsty, I think, really points to his humanity. And some people put some wine vinegar on a sponge and they put it to Jesus's lips. And Jesus really in this moment is showing great distress because he is about to die. And so I think that really what Jesus is telling us here when he says, I thirst, is when you see someone in distress, when you see someone hurting, when you see someone in physical or emotional pain, I want you to think about if you did see Jesus. Let's imagine for a minute you were there with Jesus and you see him on the cross. What would you do when he says, I thirst? Pause the video for a second and talk about that. What would you do if Jesus said, I thirst to you? Okay. Well, I hope that you said, or you talked about with your parents, that you would want to help Jesus, right? That you would want to help him. And so in that moment, I want you to think about all these other people that we looked at today. All these other people in distress. Look at their faces. These are the people that Jesus now wants you to help. He wants you to help a child in need, a child who is hurting, a friend who may be upset, who needs a hug, who needs a caring person to talk to. Maybe a family member or someone who has gone through a tragedy. You can reach out to that person. Or maybe people who are hungry, who need a helping hand, who need us to volunteer at the local soup kitchen. We do all of those things for other people because that's what we would do for Jesus. And so in a time that's really stressful, maybe some people are out there in distress, I want you to think about those people and think about what you would do for Jesus, you would do for all of these other people. We wouldn't ever think about Jesus saying, I'm thirsty, and us not helping, right? So that is what we should do to the least of these, to all these other people around us who are in distress. Or if we see someone in distress, Jesus would want us to reach out and help them too. I hope that you have a great week. Think about those around you who are feeling stressed and extend grace. And then if you see someone in distress, reach out and help them. Do what you would do for Jesus. All right, guys, I miss you. I love you. Please take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.